Good morning, World Mobile Nation, or good evening, depending on where you're watching this video from. My name is Fareed, and in today's video, I want to give you guys a highlight and a full recap of the AMA that was just held by the World Mobile team on yesterday. Having said that, if you guys don't know what World Mobile is, this is going to be a project focusing on connecting the unconnected using a shared economy. Now, they will be building using Cardano as well as a newly announced sidechain, which I just released an entire video for as a part of my latest update on this exciting project. Now, before I break down everything that was highlighted, I do want to mention that if it's your guys' first time, my goal here is to provide you guys in the community with the latest news, updates, and reviews for the top projects, with the World Mobile project being one of them. If you guys appreciate this type of content, please make sure to tap that like button. If it's your first time stopping by, consider subscribing. And if you guys have any questions about the WMT project, then make sure to leave a comment down below. And if you guys are not aware, I have recently kicked off my own stake pool that has just reached over 500,000 ADA staked. And so I just want to take a moment to thank all of my delegators. But if you're looking to become a part of the community or just to support my efforts in general, then please consider delegating to the DApp Central Stake Pool, which is the ticker DAPP. Having said that, what I want to do is just quickly highlight all of the topics that was mentioned here in a rapid fire method. And so again, there was just so much information here that was covered that I don't have the time to dive into all of this, but I do want to say that I put some timestamps down in the description below. Again, if you guys appreciate that and if that makes your life easier, then please consider giving this video a thumbs up. Now, this was quite the interview in which we talked about literally everything that you could have a question about when it comes to the WMT project. So without taking up any more time, I'm going to highlight all the topics that was covered. Then I'm going to turn you guys over to the actual recording of the entire AMA. And again, don't forget to use the timestamps down below to scrub through the video to jump to anything that you might find to be helpful. So we first had two moderators that I want to shout out. The first was Chelsea and the second was Mike Blake Crawford, who's the head of their community. Now, we actually heard from Mickey Watkins, who's their CEO, Alan Omnett, who's their COO, Antonio Hernandez, Josie Page, Mike Blake Crawford, and again, I believe a few other members from within the community. Having said that, they started off with the team introductions, and then they highlighted their 2022 achievements. Following that, they talked about their new IOG Sidechain, the Testnet onboarding process, and then they gave the community a ton of different updates about their Aerostat's progress. Now, once Mike Blake Crawford picked up the conversation, he focused on the Airnodes, and so he talked about Kenya Aerostat coverage, Airnode deployment targets, Airnode scaling and coverage solutions, Airnode custom hardware support, Airnode reservation updates, and he actually showed us a website that you guys can now access, which is join.worldmobile.io, in order to actually get access to a whitelist when these Airnodes do become available for purchase on the market. Jumping back over here, Mike Blake Crawford also talked about the mobile app progress and updates. They also released some information about the global app and some of its features. They talked about the U.S. Operations locations and their rollout plan. There are also conversations about the World Mobile project versus AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, as well as a focus on the Africa rollout, in which they talked about Nigeria, Mozambique, and Kenya all getting attention from this project, as well as why actually focus on the U.S.A, Airnode sales in the U.S.A, how to get involved in the rollout within the U.S.A, and then after that, they turned it over into the community Q&A. So as I mentioned, there is just so much information here as a part of this AMA. Again, use the timestamps down below to jump over into whatever sections that you guys want or whatever sections you guys find to be helpful. And again, if this video is helpful to you, it did take me quite a bit of time to put all this information together. So I would really appreciate it if you guys could tap that like button. Now, once they moved over into the Q&A portion, we got questions about rural area coverage by Hosky, as well as digital identity integration, Q1 targets and timelines for onboarding, total Earth nodes needed to have this network run once it's fully up and running, as well as EarthNode permissions, cell towers versus Airnodes, in-home hardware adoption, biggest Aerostat challenges, EarthNode staking, cellular reception versus Wi-Fi reception, user adoption within the Zanzibar region, AirNode operation costs, AirNode insurance and safety, as well as Helium network versus World Mobile, the upcoming rollout in Asia, as well as an India rollout in a potential Solana collaboration, branding around the actual EarthNodes themselves, including websites and tickers, a North Africa expansion and rollout, including Morocco, and then towards the end, a reason as to why they're building using the SDK for Cosmos. In closing, I want to say that there was also a conversation about a scan to earn feature that can be utilized by the community to earn while also providing critical information as to what areas need coverage directly to the World Mobile Project. So hopefully you guys can see how big of a space this was, and they will be having another one next month as well. So if you guys appreciate this again, let me know. I will go ahead and do the same exact thing for the next update, which will be taking place in February. Having all of that aside, again, if you guys are brand new to the channel, consider subscribing, and again, consider supporting by delegating to the DApp stake pool. And without taking up any more time, I'm going to turn it over to you guys so you guys can actually listen to the man himself as well as the team behind the World Mobile Project. I hope that you guys enjoy this. Take care.
Okay, let's get going. So thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you for being here. I'm sure lots of you who are here know who these people are already, but I think it's always really nice to introduce ourselves. So let's take some time to say hi. Mickey, would you like to go first?
Mr. T reporting in. Thanks for making it.
Antonio?
I was having problems with my headphones, but took them out, so I'm here.
You're the technical expert. Surely that should be very easy to sort out, right?
I'm a software guy, not a hardware.
Alan?
Hi, yeah, Alan, Chief Operating Officer. I think I don't spend so much time in the community because I'm mostly out building and making everything work. So good to be here.
Thanks, Alan. Andrew?
Hey everybody, it's Andrew. I'm an East African, lived in Tanzania for over a decade, originally working in solar, and I'm looking after the country operations for World Mobile.
Thanks, Andy. Mr. James Tagg?
Hi, yeah, I'm James. I'm Chief Architect. Although I sound very English, I live in California, in San Diego, and I'm building the U.S. operation here.
Thanks, James. Gregory, I know it's very late for you, so thanks for joining us.
That's quite all right. It's I'm head of Aerostat Operations. I've been working with aerostats on and off since 1990 for lots of different people. And I'm really proud and thrilled to be part of all of this. And I'm calling from Dubai. So that's why it's late here. It's after midnight already.
We've got Alan in Dubai at the moment as well, and Zach is currently en route to Dubai too, so he'll be with you tomorrow, Alan, is that right?
Indeed, yep.
And then last but not least, we've got Mike, our marketing director.
Hey guys, Mike here, marketing director at World Mobile. Yeah, I'm in the community every day, quite elusive at the moment, but I'll definitely make myself heard over the coming weeks. My role is all about championing this community and pushing it as far as it can go. So looking forward to this space and speaking with all of you afterwards.
Thanks, Mike. And then obviously 50 needs no introduction, but 50, would you like to introduce yourself?
For 50, community advisor, EarthNode operator. I'm sure if you visited any of the chats or spaces, you've spoke with me already. So here I am again to represent.
And also, I think it's really important to say a big thank you to Karen and Zach behind the scenes who've been working really hard to make this happen too. So there we go. There's a round of intros. So let's have a think about what the year that was. You will have seen at the end of last year that Mickey shared a letter that outlined, excuse me, sorry, I've got a bit of a cold, who outlined a lot of our successes from last year. There were loads, especially in terms of, the Airnodes that were deployed in Zanzibar, in terms of the EarthNode auction. That seems like a really long time ago now, but that was last year. We had the NFT launch just after Christmas, started to onboard people onto the testnet. So it was a really exciting year last year. Mickey, what were your highlights?
For me, one of the major highlights was the Aerostat launch from Saudi in New Hampshire. It was a joy to attend and have the team attend all the conferences, especially the ones with the regulators, ITU and GSMA. To get a footprint in U.S.A. last year was also really fantastic. And, of course, the merch store, which I think I'm the #1 purchaser of merch.
Anyone else got any highlights that we might have missed? James, what was your highlight?
Well, we got a CBRS node up and running and connected to our core and started making phone calls. So, I mean, that's pretty good.
Absolutely, that was an exciting, and lots more of that to come this year too. Antonio, how about you?
Well, the highlight for me is the amazing team that I have behind building all the software that we need to build in order to launch this worldwide network. So, yeah, it was great year of work, and I anticipate a great year as well in 2023.
Absolutely. Andrew, how about you? Because in terms of rollout, there were lots of successes. What are you most proud of?
All of the hard work that the team and the hosts of the Airnodes did in Zanzibar was really great to see, and meeting the target. All the testing of all the different manufacturers and the suppliers, and there weren't a shortage of supply chain logistics issues last year, and we overcame those, which was great. And yeah, just seeing the team thrive in the challenges and spreading our wings to other territories it's unbelievable. Great work.
Thanks, Andy. How about you, Alan? What do you look back on and think, yeah, that was good?
I think we definitely achieved a lot, which you've already highlighted the great things we've done, and the team's been mentioned. But I think last year for everybody in this industry, the blockchain industry, was pretty challenging overall, and we focused on the project and building, and that's what it's all about. So I think we had a successful year in terms of progress building, and this year some amazing things coming. So yeah, good foundations.
Thanks, Alan. And Mike, I'm expecting that your highlight from last year was starting to work at World Mobile, right?
Exactly that. And just getting to understand the business and what an incredible mission it has, and of all the places to work, like this is definitely the place to be. And just getting to understand the community, be the voice of the social accounts, and really starting to help to push things forward.
Great, thank you so much, Mike. So I'm sure lots of you out in the community will have seen the announcement that we put out today about the sidechain that we've been working on. Really like to share a bit more information about that in the spaces today. So over to Antonio. He's the man with the plan and has lots of information about this. So Antonio, we've got some questions for you from the community. So first of all, why are we working with Cosmos? Why the sidechain? Why was it needed?
Well, actually, we need to be specific here. We're using the Cosmos SDK. It's not that we're working with Cosmos, the ecosystem. So Cosmos SDK is a library to build blockchains, and you can build any blockchain with it. It's used by very big names in the industry, and you don't need to be integrated into the Cosmos ecosystem in order to use it. You can build whatever, even a Cardano sidechain with it, right? So, we are using the Cosmos SDK, which is a point that it needs to be cleared. Yeah.
Absolutely, I think that is really, really important to make that distinction very clear. So, from that, can we say well, this is a question we've had. So, are we moving away from Cardano?
Absolutely not.
Come on.
Absolutely not.
we met with Charles in 2018. I've become very good friends with him ever since. Cardano is the #1 decentralized blockchain. It's got so many things right. Antonio, our CTO, his daughter is named Ada, right? We're married to Cardano. What we're doing is we're bringing. Yeah, your wife was also pregnant during the IOHK Miami event, right, Antonio?
Yeah, that's what where I came up with the name. Yeah,
we're adding more to Cardano. We're delivering on the dream of interoperability, right? We're building something that's big enough to be able to take on this network. We don't say lightly that we're going to grow the biggest mobile network in the world. So absolutely not. It's a lot of drama online. We've seen it today, but we'll take some open questions later if anybody from.
You can say I've even delivered a little girl called Ada, named Ada. So
there we go. So I think that was a fairly definitive no there. Thanks for clarifying that, gents. And we have said that we're going to be working in conjunction with IO on this sidechain piece. Can you expand on that a little further, Antonio?
Well, just a couple of weeks ago, we received the from IOG the technical specification for the sidechains that they've been working to deliver as soon as possible, right? And we got a sneak peek, and we are working together with them to adapt the solution that we were already building to be a proper sidechain integrated into the Cardano main chain. It's a really nice solution, and I'm very excited to be building on it. As Mickey was saying, we met the guys of IOG back in 2018 in Miami at their own summit, and there we heard and we shared that vision that Cardano has about the settlement layer and the computational layer, which is what the sidechains are based on, right? It is going further into that vision. And I'm really happy that vision that we shared 3-4 years ago now is being implemented. And we are one of the main projects implementing that vision.
And the people saying, oh no, you're moving away from Cardano. Oh no, you're a sidechain. It's like, I get it. But do your research. Look at what we're actually doing.
Thanks, guys. And one of the other questions that we've had around the sidechain is around restrictions. So, Antonio, can you help to explain about whether there'll be any restrictions created with Tendermint and how that's going to work?
Well, actually, what we are doing is so there's no out-of-the-box solution that can create a permission sidechain that can scale at the level that we want to scale. So, of course, every out-of-the-box solution has limits, but we are building to make those systems scale. And what we are doing is a sidechain of sidechains. And it's like, well, we call our sidechain system Aya, which is a word, African word that means fern, the plant, you know, the fern. I don't know if I'm pronouncing with my Spanish English properly.
Yes, you are.
So,
correct.
So yeah, in the same way that the fern has a stem and it has a lot of leaves, we are building a kind of system that has a central hub and a lot of satellites, and we call them the stem and the leaves, right? So we are surpassing those limits and by implementing a very novel solution that I haven't seen anywhere else.
Thanks for explaining that one, Antonio. Excuse me, sorry. Okay, so let's move on to your next section, Antonio. You're up again. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the testnet onboarding is going and how we're beginning to phase people into the testnet? I mean, it was a huge achievement to get that out in the quarter as we'd intended. So yeah, what's the current state? Where are we?
So what we're doing is to have a phased onboarding, but we want to speed it up from next week significantly. Why the reason why we onboard first at more technical people is because we want to sort out all the tricky parts initially with people that can work around some initial problems. But then we want to keep that small group of testers as a private testnet, so we can break things and solve things to then go into the open testnet, right? So we have spin up the small do and break things testnet. We will spin up. We are spinning up currently as I speak the new open testnet, and we are going to onboard more and more people to this open testnet as soon as possible, beginning next week. So that's the reasoning behind.
So the Earthnode operators all need to assemble. It's time, right?
Your time is coming.
Yeah, we are minting test NFTs as we speak.
Exciting stuff. So I think you've covered the next question, which is about onboarding our Aernodes and how that rate's going to increase. So that's really exciting. And how many have we got running so far? How many people have claimed their ENFTs? How are we doing in terms of getting that all going?
Are we talking test NFTs or mainnet NFTs?
Start with the mainnet NFTs.
So I think that there's 200 left to be claimed from the ones that were attributed. And well, maybe I should tell the purpose of the NFT, right? It's not only a fancy video animation that you own and you can show to your friends. The NFT has a purpose and is the key to operate your node. So when you want to operate your node, and the people that has experienced the private testnet know about that, you will send your NFT to smart contract to be able to activate your node. And that NFT will be the key for this sidechain of sidechains that we're building. But we have a paper coming from our amazing blockchain lead and his team that will explain the whole solution with more detail. I cannot go deep into this space, but technical people that will read the paper will enjoy a lot that solution.
Thanks, Antonio. M50, I know this is a question that you get asked quite a lot out in the community, in Telegram. So is there anything that you'd like to add to that point about how the NFT works?
I think Antonio fairly well covers things. I don't think there's anything that I can say that Antonio can't say. So
come on, 50, you're quite smart.
Cool. Okay, let's move on to the Aerostat. So we would like to speak to Gregory about this, and Mickey as well. So it's been a huge focus in the community, but even more as us as a team. You know, every day we're checking on the progress. But yeah, Gregory, would you like to give a bit of an update on where we are with the Aerostat?
Sure, happy to do that. Mickey already referred to the huge success we had in Riyadh and New Hampshire, but I think it's worth getting into that in a little bit more detail. During the Connecting from the Skies conference in Riyadh, which was looking at a whole different range of ways of connecting from space and the stratosphere and so on, we actually did a live demonstration, and it really was live, where we had an Aerostat in New Hampshire, which was being remotely controlled from a laptop in the presentation room, in the conference room, and a VIP came up and pressed the launch button, and you could see in real time on the screen the Aerostat launching. What we then did was take it a stage further. We had James Tagg in New Hampshire, and he then communicated with the conference using the payload on the Aerostat. And so we demonstrated the whole system of using the Aerostat. It worked beautifully. And then somebody else pressed another button and the Aerostat came down and landed. So that was a huge step, because nothing like that has actually been done before. And it was a major milestone. But in addition to that, the installation in Zanzibar for the SkyGuard Aerostat is fully ready to go. We've started training some locals in how to act as pressure watchmen and aerostat operators. And in addition to Zanzibar, of course, we're now planning in some detail several potential new sites, both in Africa and in the U.S.A. and elsewhere. We've also consolidated our relationships with Aerostat suppliers. We've been working with 2 main Aerostat suppliers, but we're talking to others as well, because the number of Aerostats we're going to need is larger than any one manufacturer can supply to us. And we've also started now furthering our plans for developing high-altitude assisted balloons. We've reached some agreements. We're talking to people about specific patent work and technology development. And so there's a lot going on in the Aerostat world now.
I'm getting excited by hearing that. I'm always excited about aerostats, but you know, it's very important as well when you talk about the stratosphere to understand that the antennas, the IP that we're making, the long range equipment, hardware, is also being built at the same time to go up to the stratosphere. So as soon as we're ready with the stratosphere, you know, this eliminates a lot of need for aerostats on the ground.
So I think that actually leads really nicely into one of the questions that we got around aerostats from the community. Mickey, maybe this is one for you. Are aerostats still a viable solution?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably the most viable solution for connecting the unconnected and massively rural areas. Mountains are an even more viable solution because we can put our antennas up high. The real magic is in the dynamic network, is the software, the coordination, the IP in the antenna, the quantum stuff that James is doing. He can tell you more about that, and we'll learn more about that soon. But in terms of getting something up in the sky, very high, cheaply, effectively, and providing a solution today for the unconnected and underserved, 100%. Much more viable than anything else out there right now.
There we go, 100%. I love that. Gregory, can you tell us a bit more about the aerostats? I mean, we often get questions about, you know, how they work in different weathers, but one of the specific questions that we've had over the past couple of days is around the size of the aerostats. Could you add a bit of colour to that?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think that I can talk specifically about the 2 aerostats we're working with right at the moment. One of them is 18 meters long and about 400 cubic meters of helium. Remember, 1 cubic meter of helium lifts about 1 kilogram. The other one is a bit bigger. It's 23 meters long and holds about 690 cubic meters of helium. So obviously it lifts much more or goes much higher. But we're going to end up working with aerostats of a number of different sizes, we believe, depending on the topography of where we're going to be deploying them, the altitude above sea level of the ground where we're deploying them, and a whole lot of other factors. So it will not be a case of us operating one particular size of aerostat. It will be a range of sizes.
Interesting stuff. So different types of aerostats too. Looking forward to hearing more about that. And while we're on the subject of the altitude and the size, and we've had a question asking about whether they'll affect air traffic. Gregory, one for you, I think.
Sure. The short answer is, well, as the Germans say, jein, which is a sort of combination of yes and no. The answer is that obviously we will not site aerostats anywhere where they will have a negative impact on air traffic. But if somebody wants to fly across a piece of land where there is an aerostat, they will have to go around it. And so we don't operate aerostats where there is air traffic, but air traffic also has to avoid the aerostats. So there's no negative impact on air traffic, but we watch out for each other and make sure that we're always safe, because safety comes first in aviation above everything else.
Absolutely. So we have to have a respectful relationship both ways. Okay. So you said previously, Gregory, about our plans in Zanzibar with the Aerostat, and also for some plans we've got for this year in the U.S.A. But we have had a question specifically about Kenya. So hypothetically speaking, how many Aerostats would be required to cover a country like Kenya? James, I think you've done some modelling on this. Could you answer this one?
Yeah, I'm somewhere like Kenya, which is typical average country size for sub-Saharan Africa needs about 80 aerostats to cover it. And that's the sort of small, relatively low altitude aerostats. If you go up to a much higher vehicle, then you can bring that down to around 30.
Understood. So it's about the altitude really, and so I guess that leads on to another question we've had over the past couple of days in terms of the size of the aerostats or blimps. Could we compete with smaller blimps? How would that work? Explain a little bit more about how the different sizes would and altitude would give different coverage.
Well, the coverage is as you go higher, you can see more of the Earth's surface. So it's actually pretty simple. And as you go higher, you need a slightly larger aerostat because you're holding more of a tether beneath you. So you need a slightly higher lift capacity. And that's the basic calculation in terms of size and height.
I think I've heard Gregory say something before about.
Yeah, I mean, in the world of aerostats, size is everything. The bigger you are, the more capable you are. In other words, you can carry more, you can go higher. Because of this basic physics that a cubic meter of helium lifts a kilogram, obviously the more helium you have in the aerostat, therefore the bigger it is, the more you can carry, and also the higher you can go. So size is really important.
But also at the same time, it's cost, right? So there's finding a fine balance. So on one side, you've got James, who's creating the antennas, inventing the antennas, putting them together, bending the metal, building the carbon fiber with partners to reduce the weight so you can go up and reduce the actual cost of CapEx massively.
That's absolutely correct, but there's this wonderful thing called the squared cubed law, which means that you only have to increase the size of an aerostat by a relatively modest amount in order to increase its volume by a significant amount. And so just a couple of, a few centimeters longer will increase the volume in that aerostat by a significant increase in payload capacity.
I love it.
There we go. You heard it there from Gregory. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Mike for this next bit here. We're going to for an update on OPAN and a bit of an AirNode update as well.
Thanks for that, Josie. Just picking up on Operation Airnode and our rollout across Tanzania and beyond. Firstly, just want to highlight some of the amazing work done by the deployment team in 2022. I'm sure some of you saw our videos that we've been sharing on social and obviously a lot of the photographs of the nodes. We've got plenty more of that to come. So do make sure you're following us on Twitter and YouTube to keep up to date with that. And Airnodes is where I'll start with the questions. And this one, Mickey, this one's for you actually. 226 Airnodes in 2022. How many can we expect in 2023? We're already at 247. What's next?
So Zanzibar, we're expecting to lay down another 100, 150. And then we are reserving some for the B2B side of the business. We've got some big interest there and drumming up more interest too. But the last year was really building out that sharing economy, getting all the software right, getting the economics right and testing it. Now we have a few paying users on the network. We're able to see even more. So this year is about deployments elsewhere. Deployments into Kenya, deployments into some other African countries, deployment into the United States, also a deployment into an Asian country. Just to get the spread out there, just to get the feeling, just to make sure those economics are right. And that's what this quarter will be about. Getting more Airnodes down on the grounds, testing the cookie cutter method works, and then boom, Operation Airnode launches, and we begin the mission to build the world's biggest mobile network. You know why? Because together we're unstoppable.
Did I hear you say Asian country there? Are you going to give any indication of where that might be?
It's got a huge population and a very big ARPU. It's certainly a bigger ARPU than where we are. And the opportunities are everywhere right now. And the beauty of the Operation AirNode is it can be copied and pasted everywhere. And each AirNode may be an AirNode just with Wi-Fi. It may be an AirNode with licensed spectrum. I'll take the opportunity here to call out one of our trolls. I mean, he's a very dedicated troll, but he's one. World Mobile has no licenses. World Mobile has nothing anywhere. World Mobile doesn't use licensed spectrum. World Mobile's only using Wi-Fi. If you look at the Wales video where we used the Starlink and converted that to 4G, you can't use 4G unless you don't have a license or the permission to use licensed spectrum. If you look what we're doing in Africa with TV whitespace, that's very exciting. And we've got some really good tricks that may make TV whitespace mass adopted in those countries. And licensing spectrum and borrowing spectrum and sharing spectrum and Nebraska, Alaska. There's so many options with the Airnodes, and it's very exciting. Something that I'm personally looking forward to, making sure that I'm in those work streams because it's very important for World Mobile. That's where the revenue comes in. That's where the coins first enter into the network to bring that revenue in to make the sharing economy work, and then filters down through the ecosystem so that we can bring that $1 trillion economy into the World Mobile ecosystem.
Incredible. Thanks for that, Mickey. And another question that we get quite often, and this is one from the community over the past few days, can Airnodes sufficiently scale to provide coverage to a city of, say, 1 million people on their own? And that one's for James.
Yeah, I mean, so Airnodes are radio transmitters. They're cellular radio transmitters. So they have pretty good range, anywhere between 2 and 8 kilometers for Airnodes. And so clearly, most of the big cities are actually pretty dense and not that big. There are exceptions, but they're there. So the question is, can the Airnodes provide sufficient number of cells to cover a city? There's no question they can. And then you say, well, what about the spectrum availability? Well, in America, the government open sourced spectrum, the CBRS spectrum, so that's 150 megahertz wide. So if you take, for example, Verizon, they have 131 megahertz of low and mid spectrum that they run their entire network. That covers a little over 30% of the US population, which is 300 million people. So it's 100 million people. So obviously it's about spectral density and nerdy things like that. But the simple answer is yes, there's quite a lot of spectrum available, and the size of the cells is about the right size to cover cities.
And staying on technical questions, in the future, could an Airnode operator use their own hardware and flash it to run on World Mobile's network systems? And that one I'll pose to Antonio.
Well, there was a video that I recorded where I showed how to flash an Airnode with your own software. So the answer is yes. There's a catch there because we are doing it in a phase release. So what we're doing is first we are going to do it in the hardware that we suggest on Operation Airnode. Second, we are doing with suggested supported hardware, and third is any hardware that supports the flashing of the firmware that we are creating that anybody can buy off the shelf and use as an Airnode. So the answer eventually is yes.
Okay, and before we get to that stage, that first stage that you referenced there, obviously Airnode reservations is a question on many of the community's lips. What's the status currently of Airnode reservations, and can you provide more information on earnings and how they'll be allocated? And I'll pose that question to Alan.
Yeah, sure. So the Operation Airnode is in very good shape. We've been doing a lot of field testing, obviously, and we're in the final selection of the equipment. Earnings are to be allocated in fiat. And we're currently adapting the distribution algorithm for the best incentivization. As you know, we already have the nodes on the ground. We're in the process of completing beta testing for the B2C and moving to a zoned launch. So as that progresses, you will start to see those earnings appear on the WMT scan. What else can we say? So, I mean, if you've read the white paper, I'm sure most people have here, we talked about up to 10% of revenue. Yeah. However, we're looking for this to be higher following our tests. So that's kind of what we can say about that just now. Where else are we in terms of the status of OPAN? I think I'll leave that for Mike. I think you're going to say something about that a little bit later.
Yeah, I've got something hopefully really exciting for many of you to share right now live on this space. We're opening a early access whitelist for the community, for our prize members of the community. If you head to join.worldmobile.io, and this site is open now, you will be able to register and be whitelisted for early access to the first batch of Airnode sales. So just to be clear, the way this is going to work, anybody who's on that whitelist will effectively receive an email notification prior to the public opening of Airnode reservations, and that will allow you early access to that first batch. And that email notification will come out 48 hours prior to the public opening of Airnode reservations. Everyone will get that notification at the same time, and once that's been sent, Airnode reservations will be on a first come, first served basis. So head over to join.worldmobile.io for your chance to sign up to that. And moving on, we've been really excited to announce that we recently onboarded our first B2B customers in Zanzibar. But a big question from the community is, what is the status of B2C paying customers and their onboarding? And also, what's the status of the mobile app? And Alan, I'll put that one back to you.
Yeah, sure. So the key to the B2C is a little bit different to B2B in terms of the user experience. So there's been a lot of work from our very amazing mobile development team, and that's been out in the field. People have been using it, doing top-ups, and it's integrated to the mobile money payments, and that's all working well. And what we're doing is we're about to progress that to a zoned deployment. So it's going to expand out into different zones where we'll be onboarding those paying subscribers. And it's looking good. So, we had some really good feedback as we went through the beta testing, things that people wanted to make it an easier user experience. So, big focus on getting that user experience right. And now it's looking good. So we're off.
I think it's really key to understand what a massive collaborative effort that has been within our teams. Alan, I'm sure you'd agree, all of our teams, from our creative teams to the in-country teams to the dev teams, bringing everyone together to get the app launched has been everybody has worked really hard on it. So I think, it's definitely worth saying that.
I also think it's really important to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it and why we're taking this approach. So we know that the underserved and unconnected areas need internet and want internet. We know that the areas that are charging disproportionate rates to their people want a cheaper internet. We also know that we don't have enough trucks and enough people to roll out a network for the hundreds of millions and billions of people we aspire and have committed to connect ourselves. So when we're launching, I see stuff online where people say, oh yeah, how are you going to compete with Starlink? How are you going to compete with AT&T? How are you going to compete with Verizon? Well, it's not competing, right? Our model is very different. Our model is reducing the capex by offering shared ownership or ownership of the network. Our offer is reducing the OPEX by finding the hosts and the people to operate the network. And this is an offer for areas that are unconnected or underserved. And that super, super, super pumps me up, right? Because you don't need to compete. You don't need to jump into those saturated markets. You don't need to go out and raise $400 million, $500 million from a VC in order to actually lay down a mobile network. And, you know, we're not the only ones seeing this, right? There's others in the DY space that are beginning, and there's other big telcos that we're speaking to who are saying, hey, we want you to bring the network to us. We want you to go and connect those unconnected areas, and we want to do business with you. So we're doing this measured, we're doing this calculated, and I said this 2 years ago. Explosive growth. That's what we want. Explosive growth. And the way to do it is to do the way we're doing it. So Operation Airnode is super, super exciting and is at the focus of everything that we're doing.
Mickey, while I've got you here, and sticking with the app, because, you know, I've really been enjoying being part of the testing program for that. And I know a question that many people want to know is, you know, is the app just for Zanzibar? And also, what exciting features will it have?
The app right now is for Zanzibar, but there is a global app that will be used by everybody, by all of us. It will have a multi-chain wallet that's sitting on there. It will have some features that work with the D.I.D. And allow us to create self-sovereign identity and to keep our data ours, which is something that no mobile network offers to date. But one of the most exciting features for me is a very important thing that we need at World Mobile. So to identify the areas that we need to go into, we access lots of databases and we do drive tests. So we look at all the GSMA databases, the carrier databases, we pinpoint areas that we know have underserved or bad signal, and then we send our people out. So in the app, actually, what we're going to have is something called Scan to Earn. So Scan to Earn is a system that passively monitors all of the radio waves that hit your phone. So as you drive through places, you'll be bringing information back to World Mobile, wrapping it with your own D.I.D. and choosing whether you pass it to us. And if you do, we'll have that data set and we'll be able to grow even quicker. So that's one of the cool features as well. And there's a ton other, but I can't spoil it.
Thanks, Mickey. So yeah, we touched on a few of the places that we're looking to expand our rollout to over the next 12 months. But yeah, one of those in particular, the land of opportunity, the United States of America, is obviously one that gets a lot of people excited, and we were pleased to announce that launch in the U.S.A. just a few weeks ago. First question on that: where exactly in the U.S.A. are we planning to launch, and initially, and why? And I'm going to hand that question over to James.
Well, we'll launch in places where coverage is not very good and that the community can help provide coverage. And that's both wilderness sort of situations where we're a long way from, well, it's actually not the wilderness, it's just not in big towns. Let's be clear. So the Central Valley in California has very poor coverage, and yet it's in a dense, highly populated area. So we want places that should have good coverage, but in fact don't. And we will help cover those, and then those coverage areas will augment the existing networks.
Amazing. And a question that I've seen quite a lot across Reddit, Telegram, Twitter. A lot of people ask, what differentiates World Mobile's offering from telco competitors like Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile? And James, if you could answer that one, please.
Well, I guess we as a company are small and nimble and can move quickly, right? And that's why there are low cost airlines and small competitors in the market. So we're able to respond to a problem with coverage very rapidly, whereas a large company might have a several-year rollout plan to cover people. And also, since our coverage is provided by the community, it's intrinsically less costly and less bureaucratic because we're doing it ourselves, as opposed to winding up a large organization to put it in, which means that we can make it break even at a lower population density, and we can put it in more quickly, and cover small areas that a big carrier just wouldn't spend the time and the management attention to do.
Okay, so the U.S.A. incredibly exciting. I mean, in terms of the opportunity that we've got there. But what does that mean in terms of Africa? Is that a shift of focus, or are we still focusing on Africa? And Mickey, I'll ask that question to you.
It's even more focused on Africa, even more countries, even more licenses. We got those licenses not intending to sit on them, intending to roll out. Nigeria, Mozambique, Kenya, and multiple other countries that would like us to come with the Aerostat solution and with the sharing economy. So absolutely not at all. Africa still is a massive focus. In fact, we've increased the size of the team in Africa to have more of a local presence on the ground and are growing out the countries that I just mentioned.
Amazing news. And a question that we got on Reddit last week, which is, a good question. Someone posed the point that, the USA is already connected to the internet. And if we're looking to connect the unconnected, why would we even consider focusing on one of the most hyper-connected countries on the planet?
Well, that's not true.
James,
that's not true.
You've got a great answer for
and
this.
James will tell you that, right? Because right outside of his house, when he's on the conference call to me, he drops out. There's so many problems, even where the carriers have connection. In some places, that connection is unusable or close to unusable. 30% of the landmass of the USA is unconnected, and around 10% of the population is unconnected. It's incorrect. The carriers need solutions like World Mobile. But so far in the DY space, nobody really offers a fully compatible mobile core complying with the standards of an MNO so that they can interconnect. So we're the first to do that. And yes, the conversations we're having with the big carriers, with the small carriers, is that they need the support.
And given that World Mobile's, ready to plug those gaps, I guess coming back to Operation Airnode, when can we, expect to see Airnode sales in the US? And Alan, I'll ask that question to you.
Yeah. So we've been doing some great field testing in a number of places. We've got something planned for Charles Ranch, which I think has already may have been discussed, but that's the foundation. We launched the US website in December, and we're preparing a number of those foundational pieces that are going to position us well in the DY space. Obviously, we're looking at features and capabilities that others do not have. So, potentially second quarter, we could be opening up. I'm not going to commit to a date right now, but it's looking positive for around that timescale.
Exciting news. And before that, how can the community help with the U.S.A. launch? Is there anything that people can do in the meantime? James, that one's for you.
Well, I think you can pre-register for the whitelist for Earthnodes. What we really need is people to identify areas where there is just poor coverage and tell us where those are and volunteer to fill those gaps. So that's the starting point of all of this.
And maybe small micro ISPs or ISPs that exist out there that have the fiber, that have the backbone, that can hand off to us. If anybody's listening that has that, we're very happy to have a conversation and see how we can work together. Installers, professional installers that would like to put up their services. I don't know if Nick Soper is on the line here, but he's actually the lead working on the Tinder for telecom, as it was called by a person inside our company, who will remain unnamed, James Tack. And so that's a very simple process for people to be able to come, and then couple that with Scan to Earn. We could have millions of people walking around the Tanzania, Kenya, actually providing us data that we are paying for right now, and that other companies are paying for right now to give us all of that information. So right now, sign up, reach out. A few of you in the community already have reached out, who are installers and who want to be hosts. But just wait for this new matching application to happen, and we're going to see something very cool.
Fantastic stuff. And finally, before we open up the floor to community questions, what are the biggest plans we have in store for 2023? Any milestones that we want to kind of recap before we open to questions?
Well, we put out a roadmap, and that roadmap looks like we can pretty much stick to it or beat some of the things there. We have brought some things forward, like the global mobile application and some of the features in there, because we think that by having such incentives as scan to earn, we can get the data sets that we need to get, and we can also have people download and start to engage in the world mobile ecosystem. But yeah, look, everything is on target. We're working super hard. January, I've already traveled 15,000, 16,000 miles in a couple of weeks in the beginning of January, and I've sat down at the computer, and I can speak for all of the team, including you, Mike, that we've been planning, making sure that this year is the year of delivery. I saw a salty comment at the bottom of one of the tweets when we talked about the sidechain, and someone saying that, oh, I heard revenue isn't going to be until next year. Utter rubbish. We're absolutely in the position where revenue will start to show this year and early this year, and I hope in the next month or before we'll start to see the first nodes in Zanzibar, and we can show you what they're making.
Incredibly exciting. Right. Time to open the floor to questions, and I'm going to hand back over to Josie, and she's going to start picking some people. So please, hands up. Who's got questions?
Thank you so much, Mike. It sounds a bit like we're at school, but it does look like there's some people already who have requested. So I'm going to bring them up to talk. Shall we go with Hosky first? Here we go. Hey, Hosky.
Hey there, everybody. How's it going?
Hosky.
So, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And I'm getting what I just pinned to the top design for the mascot. I just need official approval.
You've got official approval. I love it.
Thank you. So we did pick up an EarthNode.
Cheeky pup.
EarthNode 369. It has 69 on it, and it's 3, then 6, then 9. So it just worked out. Looks very exciting. I've been in the telecom industry for, I don't know, almost my whole life. 16 years, almost 17 now, and it's exciting to see something that could disrupt what I would consider somewhat of a monopoly in especially low coverage areas. Because like you guys mentioned, trying to get a carrier to support rural areas is like pulling teeth. And usually by the time they get to some of those rural areas with, say, 4G, 5G will be, the new thing. And then they're going to have to wait another 3-4 years. And by the time that happens again, then it'll be 6G. It's kind of the standard when it comes to mobile networks. So super excited. Looking forward to see what the team does. So shout out, congratulations with all the progress you guys have made.
Thanks, Hosky. And I'll just add there, what is exciting about Operation Airnode and this whole movement that we're doing together that's going to make us unstoppable is there's the people who want to fix their own problems. So the people that recognize they have a problem at their house and they want to extend coverage by a couple of kilometers or a few hundred meters or a couple of tens of kilometers, and they want to provide coverage for their nan and their friends and everybody else, right? That's one segment of people. The other segment of people, which can make this fly, which can make the explosive growth, are the people who want to own a part of the mobile network from anywhere else in the world. So addressing that rural problem, we've seen it. We see it as mobile network operators all the time. You have a village of 100 people, 120 people. They have some connectivity on an edge and then no connectivity in 45%, 50%, maybe even 70% of the village. We can answer those problems today, and that's exciting. So thank you very much for your words of encouragement, and you're a fellow telco DGen, and we love the host.
Thanks, guys.
Hosky. Always good to see you. Thanks so much. Vlad, you've been waiting for quite a while. You should be able to speak now too.
Yes, greetings all. Thanks for the opportunity to ask a question. And, I live in Colorado, and we have extremely poor coverage in many areas, not just in the mountain areas, but even in the Denver metro area. I have AT&T, and if I drive an hour, my service will go in and out several times when I'm on major thoroughfares, on interstates. And one of the things I noticed in traveling in other countries such as Thailand Thailand had excellent service. They had service in areas where there weren't even roads. I took a 3-hour ferry trip and I had service and internet the entire time. So the questions I have for you are you interested in having people in Colorado give you feedback on low service and no
Definitely,
service areas?
definitely, yes.
Are you coming to the Rare Evo in Colorado? I believe it's in August.
We will definitely have, if I'm not there, which I'll try to be there because I couldn't make the last one, we will definitely have representatives there, some of the team.
Okay, and my last question is that at some point I had heard there was discussion of integrating digital identification, D.I.Ds, into the phones themselves. Is that something that's still on the table?
When the user downloads the mobile application, they create a digital identity. The digital identity is then used to tie them to their own data for their self-sovereign or self-governance of their data, and for many other factors. A lot of them are useful right now, much more useful on the continent of Africa, because identity is a big problem there. But we've also got use cases and working with partners to support cases in the United States, for example. And man, I feel you. You know, I have Apple Music, and I'm driving in the car with my wife, and all of a sudden we can't play music because it doesn't stream, because of the mobile network. And I live in Spain. I live right next to the beach. I live in a tourist town. This problem is everywhere.
Well, thank you for rising to the challenge and creating opportunities and solving some of these endemic problems that developed nations should not have.
We're doing it together. Thank you too.
See you at the Rare Evo.
See you soon. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Giordano Bruce. And we've got Rich Ada Dolphin as well. Hi, thanks for joining us.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having this space. I have a few questions, so you can just cut me off at any time. But is there a target that you guys kind of have, either internally or published, that has something laid out as far as what you plan to do with onboarding in Q1, as far as, you know, your business to customers and business to business?
We do have targets broken down into the different areas, whether it's B2B, B2C. Yes, we do. Whether we can, well, I wouldn't share them on this call right now, but that's something we can look at sharing to the community. No problem.
Okay, awesome. And I heard something about early EarthNode reservations. How many of those are there?
Airnode reservations. Sorry, James said EarthNode reservations, but he meant to say Airnode reservations.
Okay, so then AirNode reservations. How many AirNode reservations are there?
Well, there's needed to be millions deployed worldwide in order to begin to fix this problem. So it's unlimited. We're world mobile. In the beginning, there will be a set number, but Mike and his team will communicate that over the next couple of weeks.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. That's all I got.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ada Dolphin. I think next up we've got Jarhead. Jarhead, go ahead. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, hey everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. I kind of want to piggyback on what Bruce was saying. Is there anything prohibiting World Mobile from utilizing RDOF funds? And I'm sure you're familiar, but if not, the World Digital Opportunity Fund. Anything within the technology that the government wouldn't like, where they wouldn't give a contract to World Mobile to develop, kind of the last mile to these rural homes and small businesses?
We're going there, and we are there. We're already supporting Indian reservations, rural businesses, rural homes. We're working with everybody, right? We have a solution that is very desirable. So we're making sure that people now know that. And we've got a lot of attention and support from different governments and different entities.
Very nice.
Thank you, Jahed. Hey, Sidechain.
Hey, what's going on, man?
I'm good, man. What are you doing, trash talking?
Hey, I just got a couple questions, man. Is the permission setup of this temporary for the EarthNodes? That is, of course.
You mean permission as in the EarthNode operators holding the NFT? Or?
Yeah, it's where nobody can basically, run the software to support the World Mobile Chain. It's like an EarthNode operator. Is that temporary?
You mean it was always in the white paper that there's going to be 1,000 AirNode operators. So I'm not sure I'm understanding your question.
So there will never be more than 1,000 entities that are able to run this World Mobile Sidechain.
There will be, but not for a
No,
long time.
we always,
As the network grows
yeah.
into the hundreds of millions or tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and into a billion users, of course, there will be new sidechains that will need to be EarthNodes that need to be fired up and brought into the network.
Yeah,
All that
exactly.
traffic. But
No.
initially, as per the white paper, we definitely won't be releasing any more EarthNodes.
No, I understand that. I'm just really what I'm getting to is I'm trying to understand what went into the decision to make it gated versus permissionless. I just that's all I want to know. I'm trying to get to the root of that.
So one of the key criteria in the telecoms industry is that there are regulations that have to be abided by. So
it's a good thing. It's a good thing IOG didn't take that same stance, or we'd be screwed.
Elaborate,
I
please.
think could you clarify your point?
Yeah, the fact that anybody in this room can run a stake pool. I don't understand why you guys don't open it up and make it permission.
Anybody in this room can support, grow, secure, and run the network as well by delegating to a stake pool, by delegating to an EarthNode, right?
I understand that, but if that's the case, why is it capped at 1,000?
Because that's what it's needed to cater for the first 10, 20 million users that join the network, by which point we'll be one of the biggest mobile networks in the world.
I understand that, but when you cap the amount of people that can support, your chain, you have gross vulnerabilities.
Delegate to those EarthNodes. Everybody can support the mission of.
I'm talking about from an infrastructure perspective, from a validator perspective.
Okay, but
why would you cap that?
A blockchain settlement node doesn't need to transport authentication and user data at very high speed with low data.
I understand that.
So
no, I'm not confused about that at all.
Limiting the number means that we can help those people achieve that quality metric, which is important to do in a cellular network. And we don't want to have tens, hundreds, thousands of people running nodes that aren't up to quality, and therefore the network doesn't reach sufficient quality. There's quite a high quality.
Please remember, this is a business, right? So the people running this network are running it as a business. They're serving the network. They're processing data, information, value-added services. They're settling on Cardano.
I want to go into your question about the source of trust, and we're using Cardano as the source of trust of the sidechain. So Cardano is our main first settlement layer, and is also where the committee selection and everything comes from. So we are based, our own sidechain is based on the consensus protocol happening in Cardano, and the smart contracts and the NFT and the WMT is in Cardano.
Okay, so
can I finish? Sorry, can I finish? Sorry, because you're interrupting everybody.
Go ahead.
So what I don't understand is you're challenging now, because we announced the sidechain. You are now challenging the origin, that something that was already written in the white paper, right? So it feels to me that you didn't read the white paper and you came here just bashing around.
No, so in essence, if you guys are using the committee rotation, so that would suggest that you would need to either run a stake pool and the EarthNode, and or point the EarthNode to a stake pool. Is that correct or no?
Or be able to write smart contracts.
Okay.
Antonio, could you elaborate on that, please?
Well, yeah, we're building a sidechain following the technical specification of Cardano, but also there's several things that you can leverage or not if you want for your sidechain. And one of the things is to leverage the validators in the main chain. On our case, we have already 1,000 validators ready to go, so we don't need to leverage that. But we can leverage the source of truth that Cardano provides by creating some smart contracts that handle the delegation of the users and the registration of the AirNodes, and then through let's call it bridge, but it's not an actual bridge. It's sort of between a bridge and an oracle. We are watching what's happening on the delegation smart contracts in the main chain and translating that into the consensus of the side chain for the committee selection. So, yeah, I don't understand the bottom of your critique here.
I guess I'm trying to find out how, like, so are you guys going to have epochs like on this World Mobile sidechain?
Yeah.
Okay. So Cardano is going to push out like like a 5-day like BFT protocol to the World Mobile sidechain then. Yes.
Well, you're technically not saying it correctly, but yeah, we are basing our epochs on the epochs of, they are not one-to-one, but they are based on. And if you need more detail, wait a few days or a couple of weeks, and you will have a paper explaining everything. And you can then, after reading this paper of the sidechain, then critique with some knowledge and information.
All right, yeah, I guess I'll wait to get more details on how that works.
I appreciate that.
Kongi, Paul, thanks for waiting and thanks for joining us. What's your question?
Hi, thank you so much. First of all, thank you guys for hosting spaces like this. Really appreciate all the updates that you guys have been giving. I just had a couple questions. First I was curious, what are some capability differences between just your run-of-the-mill cell towers compared to our Airnodes, right? Because we're all seeing these big cell towers on top of buildings. Just by looking at the size, they probably, I would guess, right? They probably can connect to more cell phones and probably have more capability processing handovers when people are traveling. So, are there any difficulties that Airnodes will face compared to just regular cell towers in those aspects?
Who'd like to pick this one up?
James?
So you're asking how are cell towers different to regular cell towers?
Yeah, so our Airnodes, I've seen picture our Airnodes that's been set up in Zanzibar, right? They're modest looking boxes about this.
These are off-the-shelf, low-cost devices that can connect around 400 users per device at a range of, if you're lucky, 250 meters. So they have a set purpose and they're all meshed up together. And that's off the shelf. And we've built those from different components, from different providers, whacked them together to make the cheapest possible device that's going to be robust enough and can support what we need, i.e. Wi-Fi 6 and huge throughput. On the other side, we're developing our own radios with our own IP, our own software, and our own patents. So James can tell you more about those radios, and that's really very exciting stuff.
Okay, I see. So eventually the goal is basically through, our own development, which we're hoping to reach the capability of those big cell towers on top of buildings, right?
Oh, yes.
That's the goal.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the only thing that we probably don't do is do the big cell towers on top of buildings. So what we do is extremely small cells, medium-sized cells, and then extremely large cells. So it tends to be the problem that most of the cell sites that have gone out from big operators tend to be these macro cells and largish rooftop installations because they need a certain size of installation to make it worth their while doing the truck rolls to do it all. And remember, it's a big exercise. They've got to negotiate with the person who owns the site, and they've got to then select equipment, and they've got to truck roll and apply for planning consent, all sorts of stuff, right? It takes 2 or 3 years for them to do. So we can put in very small cells into people's private homes and small rooftops very quickly. And then for covering the wilderness areas, we're putting in aerostats, which obviously they take quite a lot of effort because we have to apply for permissions for them. But you put them up and they do the same job as somewhere between 5 and 50 towers.
I see. So basically the hope is for, big remote areas, we have those large towers, and for
Yeah,
more concentrated area, we have more smaller basically AirNode stations to compensate for maybe one of those big towers on top of buildings, sort of thing.
that's right. Yeah.
Okay. And the second question I had was, you guys mentioned existing telecom companies is interested in partnering with you guys in terms of servicing their remote areas. So are there any challenges incorporating our system into like traditional telecommunication systems
Great question, and excited to answer. That's the difference. So a lot of the people building in this space, they're not traditionally from telco. They haven't run MVNOs, heavy or light, or they haven't run MNOs. So what we've done with the US team and the development team is we've built elements that integrate the core into the blockchain, and then we've made sure that we're fully compliant with the standards for the big and small telecom carriers. And that's the difference between us and I guess anybody else in the DY space. We know how. It's not about who you know, it's about what you know in this case.
Yeah, interworking with carriers is reasonably well standardized. It's non-trivial because big carriers are very big, right? So you're working with an elephant and you have to make sure that they don't roll over and squish you, which is partly just being nimble and partly I have done it before a few times. So that's a real help. Building the right systems that interface with them the way they want to interface is the trick.
Yeah, and not spending $200 million on hardware and $200 million or $300 million on licenses to run that hardware is also a pretty cool trick.
Well, a lot of the stuff we're building ourselves or using relatively small scale suppliers to do it, which again is the trick, because you could clearly go to one of the big guys that will remain nameless and ask them to do a project, and they could clearly take $500 million off your hands to do something for you, but that's not probably going to get you where you wanted to go.
Well, that's left half the world unconnected, that model.
Well, yeah. It's the analogy with high cost airlines and low cost airlines is not a bad one, right? There are great things that being a high cost provider does, but one of the things it does, it can't serve small airports. It can't serve small communities with a very high cost route to providing service.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, thank you guys so much. Again, appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing. Keep up the good work.
There was some really good questions. Again, feel free, to DM us or whatever, or ask us the questions in the next spaces. I like these kind of questions.
Okay, great. Appreciate it, guys. Okay,
cheers.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Lord, you're up next. What's your question? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon. Okay, so my question is more on the side of technology and connectivity. Now, currently I'm here in the U.S., and we have a cellular company here who recently, over the past year, started offering in-home hardware that connects to their cell phone towers strictly for Wi-Fi purposes. My question for you is, have you all played with that idea? Because some of the elderly here in the U.S., they don't get on Meta or formerly Facebook or, Instagram. They're not always on their phones. They have flip phones, but they do pay bills, watch Roku, connect to the Wi-Fi in the house. Yep. Is that an option that you all will have in the future? Or
so a lot of the B2B that we're doing in the continent of Africa is fixed wireless, right? So it's bringing that broadband, that high throughput back to the house, and we use different spectrums, licensed and unlicensed spectrums, in order to deliver that. And in the US, a lot of the aerostats will be, an aerostat will be put up to connect maybe only 600 people over a huge amount of land. But I think the average consumption for fixed broadband is around 600 gigabytes a month. Is that right, James? In the US?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, so we can clearly use wireless to provide what you might otherwise buy with fiber or DSL. It's very popular. in situations where you can't really dig up the roads. So
laying down fiber, I think, is 10,000. Don't quote me, but I believe this is the case. $10,000 per kilometer. And Aerostat is, the fraction of that. Hundreds of dollars per kilometer, maybe.
Yeah, it's the economics. For whatever the reason that it's going to be expensive to get fiber or DSL cable to your home, then it's a good solution to provide it wirelessly, and it's done all over the world, right? And of course, the other thing is it provides a bit of competition. It's great if you can get fiber or cable, but it's very often the only provider. And anywhere where there's more than one provider, you get a bit of competition and you get a bit of pricing. So people are pretty keen both for having any connectivity and having sort of a variety of connectivity.
Hey, that's very excellent. I appreciate the answer, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Lord.
We appreciate your question. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. Next up, we've got Castellito. Are you with us? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me, and great job as always. This community is awesome. My question is regarding the Aerostat. What is the biggest challenge right now that you guys are facing in order to launch, since you have everything? Well, it sounds that you guys have everything to go, but obviously maybe it's because of regulation or anything. Can you share with us, if you can, what is the biggest challenge right now holding you guys up for that?
Would you like me to take this?
Take it away, Gregory.
Okay, so we've actually been nearly ready to go in Zanzibar for quite a while, and you've actually hit the nail on the head. The challenge is where you have an area in which aerostats have never before operated or been operated by anybody. It's a technology that the regulators don't fully understand or have no experience with, and especially in a country where they follow ICAO regulations, but they don't necessarily cut and paste from either the FAA or the European Authority in Tanzania. And so they're very keen to support us. They're very keen to enable us to do what we want to do, but they're trying to regulate what we're doing without having the knowledge or experience of the technology to enable them to do that easily. And so we're basically helping them to understand the technology better. But as in any country such as Tanzania, the bureaucracy is fairly intense. And so there's been a lengthy process of meetings and discussions and briefings and preparation of documents to help them get to a point at which they can say, yes, we're comfortable with the technology, please go ahead.
Just to add to that, it's not an if, it's when. So it's just waiting for the T's and the C's to be signed, and that's it, done. So as frustrating as it is for everybody, it's also frustrating for us. But at the same moment, you can look at this to be a precedent, and for the rest of the continent of Africa, we have paved the way to be able to launch aerostats and show a framework and a government that accepted it. So with this kind of pioneering, we should expect this. Did we expect it to take this long? Yeah, potentially we did, right? Do we expect it to take much longer? No, we don't, because it's already taken a long time. So logic says that, we've been told yes, we're waiting for the final piece of paper. RJ, who's not on this call because it's very late there, he's dealing with this on the grounds with the Ministry of Defense, with the government, with everybody, and it's just a matter of getting the final piece of paper that says you've got permission to fly, and then we can bring hundreds of aerostats into the continent.
And actually, if I could just add, what it has also done is it's given us additional time to prepare the team, to do some training on the ground, to recruit some local people to operate the aerostats. And so it means we're not rushing into anything. When we get the permission, we'll be absolutely ready to go, probably better prepared than if we'd had the permission a few months ago.
Well, that's your job, Gregory, to make sure everyone is prepared. And one of the values of World Mobile is local. You know, we printed T-shirts locally and business cards locally when we went into Rwanda for MWC. Training local people is something that we taken very seriously, and those local people will go on to train other local people. So it's bringing back the value to where we're coming into.
Thank you guys for the response. I am very excited about the Aerostat because that, to me, that's a unique proposition for coming from you guys or any company tackling this problem. The world is not prepared for what's coming because, to me, I see this and it's like groundbreaking, and that is a signal to the world that you're coming here to disrupt and innovate where others are not willing to do. So I'm looking forward for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And
Thank
just,
you.
May I just give the reminder to everybody listening that it's not about whether we can or can't launch an Aerostat or our payload or and does not work. They work. We've launched Aerostats. We've been launching Aerostats in New Hampshire for quite some time now. Gregory has probably launched more Aerostats than anybody on the planet. And works and advised for every single Aerostat company. Aerostats work, payload works. It's just the regulation left to get the final sign-off in Zanzibar, and then we'll all be partying.
Thank you so much for your question. Really appreciate it. Paddy, good to see you. How's it going?
Hi everybody. Hope you're all keeping well.
Paddy, I'm looking forward to that Guinness, man.
Yeah. I had no problem. Let me know when you're coming to Ireland.
I will.
I have a couple of small questions. Just the one I get often is when staking. And I know everybody's staking already, but it's sort of, I get a lot of people here saying, "No, when can we stake to the Earthnodes? You know, I want to stake with you." And I'd sort of, I'm not looking for an exact date. You know, as long as we keep on the path and we know when it's sort of roughly coming.
Antonio's trying to find the unmute button. Alan's here as well, I think.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was distracted. I have to confess. Can you?
When staking to Earthnodes, Antonio?
When staking to Earthnode, we are going to create in Testnet the staking mechanism, so we can test with TestWMT. But then is as soon as mainnet is released, everybody will be available to stake, and we will create. We are working already on creating a new site that will hold the dashboard for Earthnode operators, for Airnode operators, and for the stakers. And they will have all the functionality there, very clear, to be able to stake to any of the Earthnode operators.
Awesome. So that's live with mainnet.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Brilliant. And the only one I had, and then I have a bit of a hypothetical one, but the value-added services. Is there plans for testnets for those?
Definitely. As we bring them in and as we integrate them, that's, of course, there'll be many iterations to testnet. Stuff will go live. There'll be surprises for you guys, you operators over there, and you'll see things going live pretty soon.
No, that's great. And then the other one was just a hypothetical that I was thinking about was, do you see in the future, cellular reception being totally replaced by Wi-Fi, or is it?
No.
Do you think it'll always be there?
No, it's a hybrid, right? Wi-Fi is really good because it's got massive throughput and you can send, you can do things very fast. It's not so good because it can't go very far and the handoff is much slower than cellular. So when you go from one Wi-Fi node to another Wi-Fi node on a mesh network, sometimes you lose for a second or two, maybe even more, your connection. But for offloading, it's being used to offload. Right now, in your house, when you're connected on your cellular phone, there's terms and conditions, and your Apple phone and your Android phone, and it's something that actually my brother and I invented, which is called Wi-Fi calling. So, and that offloads a lot of data off of the cellular network, and they have agreements with the carriers and with the ISPs to do such a thing. So Wi-Fi definitely has its place. It's heading up towards having some capabilities like cellular, but you need a combination of everything, right? It's not one fits all.
Okay. No, that's great. think that's it for me, guys. Thanks very
Thank you,
much.
Paddy. And you got to remind us when you have some of your spaces. You know, we'd love to come. We'd love to come there.
Yeah, we will. I'll get chatting. We'll get something sorted. Get it set up.
Cheers.
Awesome. Speak soon.
Thanks, Paddy. See you soon. Josh, thanks for waiting and thanks for joining us. What questions do you have for us?
Hey, good evening, everyone. I just have a question. I've seen lately, we've only got between 19 to 21,000 users on the WMT scan. Shouldn't that be increasing ever slowly? Or is that just for testing?
Zanzibar was never a place to have a massive commercial rollout. Zanzibar was very accommodating to us and is a fantastic place with a limited amount of people. I think the population there is about 1.3 million right now. Some of you have coverage and some who don't. But Zanzibar was a perfect test ground, a geography where we could actually try everything, the Aerostat, the sharing economy, and at the same time we could do great by connecting people. As we move into other countries and we get the sharing economy right, then we'll release it. Once we release it and we've got the right recipe, that's where we'll win. That's when the massive amounts of users will come online.
Right, okay. And my second question is this famous balloon. When it goes up in the sky there, what's that going to actually change for the network if there's not enough users to utilize it?
Well, it's going to provide us ubiquitous coverage. So the balloon itself can only carry a certain weight. And James and his team are designing antennas to sit on the balloons, and antennas that are actually going to be sitting on towers. So when it comes up, it's going to be able to provide ubiquitous coverage, handling everyone that's driving within a 70-kilometer range, approximately. And when they pass one of the towers that's owned by the community, of course, a super AirNode balloon can be owned by the community. But when they pass one of the towers, it will hand off to one of the towers instead of taking the resource for the Aerostat. But where there is no tower, then it will go back to the Aerostat. So it will provide a full cellular coverage rather than like some of the other companies out there where you'll buy a tower and then essentially you're a 5G private network and you need to come across another tower in order to be able to connect again.
Right,
So
okay.
in this case, it means that we won't really be relying on anybody else for an MVNO to jump onto their towers. It means that we will actually be able to provide the full service. So that's when you go into a full-blown cellular network built for tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people.
Right, okay. And it's the last question then. What percentage of the population do you think is going to either use the network or change the network in Tanzania at the moment?
Tanzania, Kenya, Mozambique, Nigeria. First of all, if they can see it, they can use it. So there's one mode which is B2C, where we go to acquire the users. But actually, wholesale is also very interesting, where you provide a solution for the existing mobile network operators. So you say to them, look, you don't have any coverage over here. We do. When your customers come onto our network, we're going to give you a great price.
Right, okay.
And you're going to pay us. So it's not just about the acquisition of the front-facing users. It's also what happens in the back end. We may be serving 30 or 40 million people in the United States, but only have 1 million people on the World Mobile as customers in the World Mobile brand.
Right, okay. Okay, well, thanks for your time. Appreciate
the network itself can serve tens of millions of customers. And all that revenue, of course, is coming back into the ecosystem to make the sharing economy work.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Cheers, Josh. Thanks for your question. We're going to take a couple more questions now before we finish. Cardano Hub, how are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hope everyone's doing well. I wanted to ask what the initial expenses would be in hosting an Airnode, particularly in the UK.
They range from a cost of 1,500 all the way up until a super Airnode, which is an Aerostat. We don't envisage that we're going to need Aerostats in the UK, but we do have a lot of hills, and we can put up a lot of very simple towers with our proprietary antennas that can go very far. So the range is anywhere between 1,500 to probably about $20,000 or pounds equivalent. And then, of course, if you want to go for something heavy and a huge build, we can cater for that too, and support that, help you support that build.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for all that you do, guys, and Hope everyone's doing well.
Thank you very much. We are.
All right,
We're doing
cheers.
great. Thank you.
All right, take
Thanks,
care.
Cardano Hub. We hope that you're doing well too. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate the question. Wave Nodes, thank you for waiting. Good to have you here. What's your question?
So yeah, I don't really have a question. I just wanted to say I'm very excited about the project. I'm lucky to be part of the EarthNode network. I got a nice number 3. And I just wanted to say, take your time to do the testing right, like in Zanzibar, right? We're talking about explosive growth. And I just wanted to say, measure twice or 3 times and cut once, like Charles said, because you don't want explosive problems, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
When we do it,
it's a very wise words you have.
Right. So when we do it right the first time, everybody can see what we already know now. This is a great project. And another.
I think you also need to balance. Obviously, the target is to connect half the world unconnected, and we want to do this in a fast timescale. So. Yes, you're absolutely right. That is our philosophy, to get it right and to measure and to make sure that it's right from the start. Obviously, other people have taken a different approach and they've deployed a lot of equipment, but actually that equipment is not generating revenue. So, our philosophy, some might agree with and some may not, but we appreciate your support with our approach.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the support and encouragement. It's really appreciated. Who have we got next?
We got my man Session Cruz.
Have we got Clover Nodes?
Cool, thank you. So I was in the Telegram chat and they were saying that I sound like a robot. Is that true? I had to disconnect my headphones.
You did. You sound good.
You sound okay there.
All right, cool. Now I sound normal, right?
Yes.
Good. All right, awesome.
Absolutely.
Sorry about that. These AirPods. I swear my internet's good, but I do need some more mobile internet, by the way. So, all right. So next question. So I'm super excited about the tender of telecommunications. So really, my question revolves around that. So would there be like some sort of insurance implemented when purchasing an Airnode? Like how can we guarantee basically a safety of owning an Airnode without being there to actually maintain it?
So there'll be a section there of VAS. So there'll be insurers, there'll be certified installers, there'll be people that can help you to navigate this. Absolutely. Or services.
Yeah, that's right. It'll be built into the contract.
All right. Good. That's good to hear. Insurance is important. And last question. Well, actually, I have 2 more questions. So normally I like addressing, people in the community. I like answering their questions when I see them on Twitter. I saw a question from a Cardano stake pool operator. I'm not gonna put them on the spot and put their name. They might be here on the Twitter space, but they said that World Mobile sounds like Helium. So I kind of wanted the team to address his question and explain how Helium is different from World Mobile.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in there. But James, you also can.
Yeah, I'm here as well. Yeah, I mean, Helium originally launched an IoT product. It was a really good idea, lower ran. The idea that you could build an IoT network with lots of people providing nodes. The problem is that IoT has just, and I mean little IoT, little transponders on trucks and your gas meter, electricity meter, all these sorts of things. Problem is that market has not taken off, and I don't think it has the volume in it. So Helium has done that, and they have then pivoted and said, right, they're going to build a cellular system, a 5G system. I think it's actually uses 4G equipment, but it's sort of like a 5G system, and roll that out. But it has the same sort of problem, which is if you spread thousands and thousands of nodes just liberally everywhere, you don't really build a cellular network. The point of the cellular network is you can walk from cell to cell to cell and hand over and have a ubiquitous network. Otherwise, you might as well go to a cafe and plug into Wi-Fi. So what we're doing is taking the approach that we're building a cellular network. So the architecture we're building is somewhat different. The relationships with the industry are different, and so on. And that's really what we're aiming at. So it has some elements of that sort of Helium idea, but it's quite different in the way that we're building it.
We're also building it very differently, where Helium was really for enthusiasts or semi-skilled radio entrepreneurs. We're building a business model that allows somebody remotely across anywhere in the world to own a piece of infrastructure and be paired with a local operator and host, and then putting the insurance, the whole business behind that, allowing it to just be a very simple process for two people to get connected, or for one person to start hosting. And also Helium are moving a lot now towards an indoor Wi-Fi model where they're then taking the backhaul from T-Mobile. So their current model is not about connecting underserved or rural areas. So there's a lot of differences.
There's one more thing I'd just like to add. So from the beginning, we've taken an approach where this isn't just about technology, okay? This is something that requires regulations and the ability to navigate the telecoms industry across the world. Okay, this isn't just a US problem, it's a problem across the world. So when we set out on this, on this project, one of the key things we did was we built a strong regulatory team who've got experience in those relationships across Africa, and ensuring that when you go into a new market, it's not just bringing a new piece of technology that somebody's going to plug in. You've got to make sure that that's permitted. You've got to make sure that you have the right regulations to operate it. What you don't want to do is start deploying a whole set of equipment like has been done in other models that you're going to have a problem with, because as soon as the local regulator sees you running a piece of unlicensed equipment, you're going to be in big trouble. So we've taken that approach from the start. It's not just technology; it's also the economy, the sharing economy, and also the regulations.
It's also our approach to the geographies, the areas that we're launching, right? We're going for a world spread rather than with a heavy focus inside the U.S.A. Of course, we have a heavy focus inside the U.S.A., but it's equal. We're world mobile.
Thank you for answering that question. I appreciate it, and addressing the community. One last question while I'm up here. I saw, I heard recently an interview with Digital Asset News with Mickey. Great interview, by the way. I heard
Thank you.
the rollout I heard the rollout in Asia a few times being mentioned, and it was mentioned now in the community update. So can we maybe possibly please get some sort of a hint what that Asian country might be?
In short, no. But one of my missions this year, not only to bring revenue into the network, is to show that we can launch with the same cookie cutter model or the copy paste model elsewhere. So it should be exciting, and it should bring revenue to the network straight away, and will be a massive market for us. But you're going to have to wait until, probably the end of this quarter until you can see it.
Awesome. Thanks for answering, Mickey. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chloe.
I appreciate
It's always
what you
good to
do.
see you.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to coming to LA to eat some of these Bulgarian pastries with you and your dad, Banitsa.
Yes, you are always welcome. Would love that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Session, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, Mickey? What's going on, team?
I'm good, man. Thank you.
So,
What up, New York?
I'm chilling. I'm trying to keep warm. But I'm gonna switch things up a little bit, man. These are good questions, but I have something more personal. This problem that World Mobile is solving is so huge. What do you possess within you? What gives you the confidence that you could actually pull this off? And for the rest of the team, many of you have impressive credentials and I assume can work anywhere. What did you see in Mickey that compelled you to join him and help with this mission? And second part of that question, what lessons have you learned during this journey?
Great question, Session.
Man,
Well, he's obviously
Who
the
wants to go
handsome
first?
CEO in the market at the present moment.
it's
May I?
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Josie? Okay, so for me, there are two reasons why I am absolutely honored and thrilled to be part of this team. And one of them is emotional. I've traveled extensively in the world in various careers over my life. I'm in my 60s now, including all over Africa. And I have seen the missed opportunities for the development and growth in Africa in particular that have resulted from not being connected to the rest of the world. And when I heard the basic story that World Mobile is putting across, it really affected me emotionally, because what World Mobile is doing is not only a commercially viable thing to do, but it's important. It's important for the development of the world, and it will bring to people something that nothing else that other commercial operators are offering can bring. So that was one thing. And the second thing is, having based my career since roughly 1990 on the development of lighter-than-air vehicles, aerostats, stratospheric high-altitude assisted balloons, and actually manned airships as well. This use of lighter-than-air is the most exciting commercial use of lighter-than-air that I have ever seen. And I've seen a lot. I've been involved in a lot. But this is using lighter-than-air in the form of aerostats and high-altitude assisted balloons for what they are best at doing, which is carrying a mission system to do something worth doing. And so the combination of the importance of the mission for the people, together with this fantastic use of a technology that is in my beating heart, is why I'm so happy to be part of this team. And of course, I should add the ability to work with extraordinary people like Alan, like Mickey, like James, like Andrew. These are very capable people, and it's a thrill to work with them. Thank you.
Gregory actually nearly brought a tear to my eye. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, there's somebody cutting onions. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, mate.
Son Gregory.
Well, whilst I hijack, I'd say, obviously, I've known Mickey a long time. He always said on this project, I'm going to amass an army of people who believe in the mission and the vision, and he went ahead and did it. And that, to me, was the coolest thing from day one.
It's the movement, right?
Yeah. My reasons. I mean, Mickey, you are the most passionate leader. You are a true leader, and you get things done. So, I've seen a lot of things where, people will find excuses. Mickey works harder than anybody. So when you're talking about a CEO and why would you work on this project, you need somebody with vision to make it happen. So, that's a key reason. And, this project is one which needs doing, right? Nobody's doing it. Mobile operators looking the other way. Needs to be solved, and this is a team that can do it. This is as we gather momentum, we get more support and more encouragement. We have the community here. You guys are making this happen, and it just drives us forward. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Alan.
if I may, there was one comment that you made that session that it was key for me. You said you are very accomplished people. You could work anywhere, and this is one of the key things for me. When you are privileged to be in a career that has so many opportunities, one of the things that you start to think is less about what more can I earn and to think about what difference can I make, right? So I met Mickey in a different venture, and I saw how passionate he was, but it was not so inspiring like the mission that we have now, right? So we were working together. We liked each other. He saw that I was passionate about technology. I saw that he was passionate about life in general. So we connected properly, right? And not only as colleagues, but also as a friend. But when he started thinking or explaining to me this mission, because he was thinking about it long ago, even before we met, I think. But when he started to explain, I was looking at him like, you're crazy, man. This is impossible to do. But on the other side, since I was a child, I wanted to make a difference in the world. I wanted to be remembered for something good. My childhood dream was not to be a famous football player, was to be somebody in the history books, right? So this is my chance to put my name in the history books together with Mickey.
I think we're going to do that as well. I'm not crying. I know it sounds like I'm crying, but I'm not crying. Where do I begin? You know, I feel like Andy said it right. I wanted to start a movement that we could all finish together, right? A movement that would connect the world and share information. And I also wanted to start a movement that would disrupt the telecommunications multi-trillion-dollar industry and bring that back to the people, to the local people, to remote people, and to people who are part of that movement. I'm not bullshitting you. Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, I'm sat at the computer. Of course, I need to spend some time with my kids and my family. I flew this month 15,000 miles in just a couple of days, 3-4 days. I keep this team up until 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning in Dubai time to make sure that you get the answers as a community that you want. I ring up Antonio at any time of the day and night without any respect for him, only to keep this mission going forwards and to make sure we achieve what we want to do. I feel like I'm leading a battle where we don't need to even wear armor because we're so righteous and we know where we can get, and we have an ability to change everything and to be able to change the way the world works today and the way that people talk. And everything starts small and it grows bigger. But the difference, again, is you guys, right? Because together we're unstoppable. We can do what we can do and we can make it happen. But together, that's it. So that's how I do it, man. And I've got a beautiful wife and beautiful kids to support me. And I make sure, you know, and I sit at the desk. And when I'm not sitting at the desk, I'm flying. And when I'm not flying, I'm sitting at the desk. And I'll remain to do that until the mission is there. And, you know, it will be exponential. It won't be 20,000 users here, 50,000 users there, 30,000. That's just the beginning. Once this works, which is very close to working, it will grow and it will be explosive. And there will be hundreds of millions of users on the network in the next few years or so.
I'm inspired. I appreciate the answers. I knew it would be an inspirational answer. I actually have a quick little follow-up just based on your answer, and that is, Mickey, what secrets can you share for recruiting such a rock star team? That's a great question. I would like to know the answer.
Got to trust in the people. Don't hire Dave. Don't just hire somebody who is a quote there from Steve Bartlett, but this is the only quote I know from him, by the way. I saw it on LinkedIn. But he said, don't hire Dave, you know. Hire the right people who can do the right job. Don't be emotional. You're going to get, and they're going to get, battle wounds along the way. Those people that can handle those cuts, you keep them. Those people that work those late nights and do beyond what they're meant to do. You do everything in your power to make sure that you support them, support their growth, and support their needs, and you don't stop. And that's how you build a team.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Mickey.
Thank you, man. I hope your project is going very well as well.
I'm making moves out here. I feel like early you. I feel like early you, just based on your story.
Thank you, Session. Have a good one.
Keep us posted, Session. We want to hear how it all goes for you. And, you know, I bet these people are going to be saying the same things about you very, very soon.
So we still have a lot
Keep
of
us
people
posted.
requesting to speak, and I want to answer every single one of your questions. But we have Gregory and Alan in a very late time zone, so you guys are welcome to jump off. And it would be great to start wrapping this up in the next 15 minutes. So let's get some more people on, ask your questions, try to keep them concise, and I'll try to keep my answers concise.
Okay, let's go. We've got the Flat community. Are you there? Thanks for joining us. Hey, Flack, are you there?
Yep. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I love your logo.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Telecom and WMT team. Thank you for sharing your time here. Just two quick questions. One is, can you share some information on how you are planning to expand in Asia market, specifically India? And the second question is, did you guys get a chance to explore the Sega phone, the Solana's new phone, which is coming up? And can we expect some collaboration with them in the future?
Interesting. Okay.
India. Well, we're very connected.
Yeah.
And India is a really interesting place. So the former CEO of Bharti Airtel, he was a pioneer, regarded as one of the greatest CEOs of all time. He brought sharing between mobile carriers. There's still 200,000 villages in India that are unconnected. So absolutely, it's on our roadmap. Whether it's on our roadmap in 2023 or even 2024 depends on various factors. But we are assessing it. The internal team is active talking, and we'll see where we go. It's a big opportunity.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, regarding a phone, it's something that in the early days of World Mobile, we did obviously explore building a phone. We've taken a different approach. We're of course open to partnerships with people who are doing things differently, and if it makes sense. But right now, that's not one that we have on our roadmap.
We were in 2017 and 2018. We went on the path to developing our own phone with our own OS. But people have devices. Devices are so cheap. People need connectivity. So it was a toss-up. Do you become a hardware developer of telephones as well as a mobile network, or do you leverage the other telephones that are out there to provide a mobile network? And Logic said that there's a much bigger opportunity in connecting the unconnected and underserved areas than there is in selling handsets.
Understood. Thank you. Yeah, that was my next question. Like, would you be interested in setting up your own devices? But thank you for answering that.
I would never rule it out, right? Because I think we can do something wonderful. But ultimately, we James, for example, he's Qualcomm. He has great connections there. We know the people who work at the base layer of those telephones and manufacturers. But for now, no. In the future, who knows?
Who knows? But I mean, the world is littered with people who went into making phones and lost a lot of money. I think if you want to go into making a phone, it's a huge undertaking, and you really need to decide that that's what you're focusing a lot of the management attention on.
Got it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Long-term supporter of the project. Thanks. Bye.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for your support, and thanks for your question as well. We've got the EarthNode Alliance. Hi, how are you?
Good. Thanks for letting us come up here and talk to you guys and ask these questions. I think this is really important and very motivating for a lot of us that are here.
I'd just like to pause you.
With the
Thank you
Earth
for what you're doing as well with the Earthnode Alliance. It has not gone unmissed by the World Mobile team and World Mobile Token team. It's a great initiative, and I like it.
Well, thank you. I think it's, we're doing what we can to help out and encourage and motivate, because I think that we all here believe in this project and we all want to be able to help in some
Very
way.
valuable information. So, I listen to it whilst I'm doing what I'm doing if I'm unable to attend, which is quite often. But I will attend one soon. But just know that I do listen to it and I give the feedback back to our teams. And the last one was some very important feedback that we got from that.
Well, that's awesome. That's the goal, is, we're spurring conversation. But one of the things that comes up, because right now, I mean, obviously with the testnet, the slowly onboarding, there's not a whole lot that people with Earthnode reservations can do other than maybe buy more tokens and spread the word. But so the one thing that we've been kind of encouraging a little bit is trying to figure out the branding. Obviously we have a lot of people from Cardano that are running stake pools as well. Some people already have existing brands, and you've seen people up here like Clover and Wave that have already tried to start claiming that brand. So I'm wondering, just from a branding standpoint, do we know what the ticker is going to look like when we can finally get our names claimed? And do you have any recommendations or thoughts on how many letters are in the ticker, what kind of names we can use, so that we can start buying websites, making logos, doing things like that, and then reserving them so they don't maybe get stolen from under us?
We do internally, but I think that Mike is on the call here. He's heard that request, and he can go to the arts team and put something together as soon as possible for you guys, if that's a request that you're asking.
Yeah, we'd love that. We definitely want to try and get as much information out as we can, so people are lined up and ready to go. And I guess the other question I have for you then is, as the Alliance, are there things that you would like to see us doing that would be a help to you as World Mobile to get people ready?
I fucking love you guys and ladies. BB is amazing. She's, whilst this is happening, she's tweeting. You're a breed of your own, you Earthnode operators and the world mobilists. So just carry on doing what you're doing, and we'll reach out if we need anything. And of course, the communication between us is going to get stronger and stronger as testnet, the iterations come in, and then as mainnet comes out and as revenue starts into the network, we'll make sure we've got these working groups, because you are running the network. You're building it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking so much time with this, and we look forward to what's next, and we're here to help out any way that we can as well, just as fans and part of the community. So thanks again, you guys.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. We really appreciate everything that you do. Profiler, are you there?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to ask my 2 questions. And it's really great to be part of this space. So my first question is, are you as well expanding in North Africa, like in Tunisia, Morocco, Algeria? Are you already doing some work there, or are you having any challenges?
Morocco is ripe for disruption, and the government are ready for that as well. We will expand everywhere. We're looking at everywhere. There's tens and tens of countries that have reached out to us, but we can't go there before we're ready, because if we do, we'll stretch ourselves too thin, and we need to make sure that the sharing economy model actually can deliver on a smaller scale in the countries where we already have the lowest hanging fruits and have the most connections and regulation passed, right? So yes, definitely Tunisia, Algeria, the border of Libya, all these areas, North Africa is very exciting for us. But in the same way, Asia is also very exciting for us. The opportunity is everywhere. It's just about getting the recipe right.
Thank you. So my second question is a little bit more technical. Just you guys, you are working closely with Cardano, and you know the technology, I think, better. and you are like expert on Cardano. So I would like to understand what is the limitation that push you to build your sidechain in Cosmos, for example. So yeah, so that's my question.
I wouldn't say it's limitations. I say that every blockchain, none are perfect yet, right? I have every faith that Cardano is the one that has the biggest chance of mass adoption, and I have no doubt that World Mobile can help to be a catalyst or be the catalyst for that. So it's not more about limitations. It's about using the other tools that are out there to make sure that we can deliver what we need to deliver for you, our community, and the people who are very important to this whole business model, the sharing economy, and to be able to connect the unconnected and not wait 2 years or 3 years or any time longer than we need to. So it's not about limitations. This is something that it seems to be out there in the public, you know. Cardano can't write smart contracts. Well, we've got a very good smart contract that's written on Cardano, right? Cardano can't, support TPS. Well, yes, it absolutely can. And we can do some wonderful things by building side chains and leveraging the tools that they have. I mean, is there anything you want to add to that, Antonio?
No, yeah, it's everything is not about limitations on Cardano. It's also about our own ability to build quicker as we can, right? So we are very knowledgeable in Golang, and the SDK that we use is written in Golang. That allows us to do a big amount of customization. And we are building a sidechain catered and thought and designed for Cardano. So it's not about limitations. Cardano, for me, is the best first layer chain that we can build on. So that's full stop. I don't need to say anything
I think it's
else.
just there's a lot of engagement farming, or there's a lot of people that just don't really understand the technology and what we're doing. And I'm not saying that you're one of those people, but what I'm saying is that we're not coming at this from an approach of limitation. We absolutely believe that Cardano is up there, as the best in its class.
Thank you so much for your answers. I really appreciate the work you are doing. I think it is challenging sectors, and it requires a lot of technical know-how and as well ambitious guys like you. Thank you.
Habib.
Okay, well, it might be the time to thank everybody for being here. And if people do still have questions that they'd like to ask, feel free to leave them on our Twitter or in Telegram, on Discord, on Reddit, and we'll be really happy to come and answer those questions that you leave there. Also, we'll be back here for Spaces next month. These are going to be a monthly update moving forward, something that we're really committed to in terms of having these conversations as a community every month. But I'd really like to say a massive thank you to everybody for being here and for sharing your time with us this evening. And Mickey, do you have anything else to say before we...
Thank you to our community. Thank you to my colleagues and esteemed team members for all of you staying up to do this. And I hope we answered many of your questions. Again, if you have other questions, I try and we try our best. I spend a couple of hours every night on Twitter and in the morning just to make sure that I'm there to answer and to appreciate what you guys are looking for and to give you the support that you need so that you can continue to support us. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a great evening. Over and not out.